The Sunnah was pure. There was no innovations. There was no shirk. There was no people interpreting the Sunnah to their desires and whims. The Sahaba strove hard to preserve it in that way also. And then what happened? Generations after generations, we began to pollute the Quran, pollute the Sunnah, with our own understandings, with our own interpretations over the years. And we came with, Miladun Nabi, we came with worshipping graves, we came with so many, the list will go on forever if I start. So my point, my brothers, is this is the essence of unity, that we return to the original, authentic teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah, and then we will be united. Unity then is a must. It's a default position if we return to this. Allah Jalla wa Ala, Ikhwan, He says in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and hold fast all of you together to the rope of Allah and do not be divided. The Shaykh recited beautifully, mashallah, these verses. He said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ, all of you hold together to the rope of Allah. If this word bihablillahi was taken out of the verse, would the verse make sense? Perfect sense. وَاعْتَصِمُوا جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. وَاعْتَصِمُوا, hold firm, all of you, and do not be divided. Still makes sense. Hold firm, all of you together, and do not be divided. But for some wisdom, hikmah, Allah Jalla wa Ala added these words, bihablillahi, and hold fast all of you together to the rope of Allah, and do not be divided. This shows us that unity, holding firm, coming together, has some basis. And the basis of the unity is the hablillah, is the rope of Allah Jalla wa Ala. When we look into the tafsir of this ayah, whether it's from Qurtubi, Tabari or Ibn Kathir, you'll find similar narrations from the Sahaba, where some of them interpreted the meaning of hablillahi to be Al-Quran. Others interpreted it to mean the Sunnah. Others interpreted, the majority interpreted it to mean La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And others said it was the kalimat of Tawheed, in La ilaha illallah Rasulullah. So this is what should be the basis of our unity. The Quran as it was in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Sunnah as it was in the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, and it should be and it also includes La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Now think carefully. If the hablullahi is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, what does that mean? It means that no one has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and Muhammad is his last and final messenger. Two parts of this kalimat of Tawheed. The first part, which says La ilaha illallah, means that you negate any deity to be worshipped and you single out Allah alone to be worshipped. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Allah said, indeed we have sent to every nation a messenger, a prophet, telling him, instructing him to tell his people to worship Allah and abstain from worshipping the false gods. At-Tawheed was the very essence why the Messenger ﷺ was sent. To make the people worship him. It's when the Muslims themselves begin to turn away from worshipping Allah and they begin worshipping the creation, be it a bir or a faqir, be it money or wealth, be it role models that are un-Islamic and so on and so forth, they are worshipping other than Allah. And the second half of this kalimat of Tawheed, what Muhammad Rasulullah means, that we must single Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam out to be followed. So I ask you, is the ummah following Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? When we say follow him, What we mean by follow him is follow him in his sayings. Whatever he says, we submit to it. No, have no ill feelings in our hearts or resistance to what he says. What we hear and we obey. As Allah said, إِنَّمَا قَوْلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. Verily the saying of the believers is that we hear and we obey. And following his actions. If we know the Prophet ﷺ done one action, however small it may seem to be in your eyes, or how big it may be, we follow it. And his approvals, what he allowed. And his character, his behavior, his manners, his kindness, his good behavior. And also his appearance, how he looked, how he dressed. All this is from his sunnah. Singling him out to be followed in all this is fulfilling the rights of Tawheed. Where is the Muslim Ummah from this? And we ask for unity. Where is the Muslim Ummah from this? Today we have Muslims saying, that anybody who grows a beard is an extremist. People that wear their trousers above their ankles are extremists. We have Muslims on the other hand saying, Islam allows and calls to democracy. Islam calls to women leading prayers. What I'm getting to that, feminism and so on and so forth. We have all this going on amongst the Muslims. We say, why are we in this pitiful state of weakness? Why are we not united? These are just two examples I've given you. There are many other examples of how Muslims have deviated away from the teachings, the true teachings of Islam. Going back to the kalimat of Tawheed, the very essence, the very basis of the hablullah, of the hablillah, the rope of Allah, which will unite us. Let's just talk about how really important that is. How important would you say this Tawheed is if I told you that every prophet asked Allah to save them from ever committing the opposite of Tawheed, shirk? Two of the greatest prophets, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, وَاجْنُبْنِي وَبُنَيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. He said, oh Allah, save me and my offspring from ever worshipping idols. And this is a prophet of Allah. See how important Tawheed was to him. How fearful he was that he may fall into shirk. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the greatest of all the prophets, our prophet, said to this ummah, he used to say every morning and every evening, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika shay'an wa a'lamu wa astaghfiruka lima a'lamu. He said, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from ever associating partners with you, knowingly or unknowingly. This is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Every morning and evening. And he said, whoever says this dua 3 times in the morning, dies in the evening, he will meet Allah without shirk. Says it 3 times in the evening, dies in the night, before morning, he will meet Allah without shirk. So my point, my brothers, is if these two messengers sought refuge in Allah from shirk, how comes we feel so secure? And going back to my point, that this is the very essence of what unity is going to be built upon. Are you going to unite with those who worship graves? With those who say Ali is Allah? Are we going to unite with the likes of people who do tawaf around graves, who prostrate their heads and kiss the feet of humans? We all know where this is going on. It goes on in our country, in Pakistan. It goes on in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh they worship fish, and some of you know this. Yeah. This is the state of the Ummah. In Malaysia and Indonesia. Now when you add these countries together, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, these 5 countries alone make up almost 50% of the Muslim Ummah of the world. And how much shirk is going on there? And then we haven't even opened the door of what's going on in Egypt. You have the grave of Al-Badawi there. And Syria, before all this fighting is going on, there's human worship going on there, under the banner of Islam and Muslims. And so we ask, where is the unity? The unity will never come whilst this is happening. Until we tackle this and purify ourselves from shirk and remove this from Islam and go back to how it was in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, then we will see unity. And we won't see it otherwise. In addition to that, my brothers, Yani, Islam is a religion of unity in its essence from beginning to end. We Muslims have been ordered to pray 5 times a day in Jama'ah. Obviously, the purpose of worship, of praying in Jama'at is to worship Allah. But in Jama'at shows the importance of unity. Why is it that it's not permissible for us to pray at home if we don't have a Sharia excuse? Because of the importance of unity. We even have a bigger unity than that. On Jummah, all the Muslims come together in the Masjid Al-Jami'ah, the big masjids. This shows how important unity is in Islam. This shows you that Islam is a religion of unity. Bigger than that, the Taraweeh in Ramadan. How many Muslims come together then? Bigger than that, the Eid, Salatul Eid. How many Muslims come? Even the women, who when they menstruate, or menstruating, they come as well. And they sit and they listen to the khutbah. Islam is a religion which calls for unity, calls the hearts to come together, calls for this. It's part and parcel of Islam. You cannot separate unity from Islam. Bigger than even the Eid prayer is Hajj. You can see how Islam has legislated acts of ibadat, worship, which signify unity. Islam is a religion of unity. But this unity of just numbers is empty unless it has the quality of the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imam Malik, he said that nothing will fix the latter part of the ummah except that which fixed the former part of the ummah. So whatever fixed the former part of the ummah will fix the latter part of the ummah. Going back to the ayah in the Quran, which I mentioned, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He said, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Do not be divided. In many other ayahs in the Quran, He said, وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. And do not be like the polytheists, the mushrikeen. Now He describes these polytheists. Look how He describes them. He says, those who divided their religion into sects and groups. Each group rejoicing, happy with that which is with them. That is a classic example of us Muslims today. We have followed the way of the mushrikeen, whether we like it or not. We've divided into sects and groups, and each group, each sect, each masjid is happy with what they've got. And this is a complete, in opposition to what Allah has told us. No, He told us not to do this, and we're doing that. In another ayah in the Quran, how Allah Jalla wa Ala made splitting and dividing blameworthy. He said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. He said to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say, O Muhammad, that those who divided their religion into groups and sects, you have nothing to do with them in the slightest. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is free from us, from those who choose to be happy and rejoicing with whatever group and sect that they are upon or with. In that same ayah, when Allah said, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast, hold firm all of you together to the rope of Allah, and do not be divided. These words, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and do not be divided, are emphasis of the former part of the ayah. It just throws emphasis on being united and holding firm to the rope of Allah. Because really there was, if it didn't even say وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, the message is clear. But He added it in to throw further emphasis. Do not be divided. What divides communities? What divides Muslims? Let's take, for example, this community here, the Luton Islamic Society, mashallah, may Allah preserve you all. Ikhwan, God forbid, but one brother has an argument with another brother in this, Luton Islamic Society, and they fall out. And the one who feels oppressed, or more oppressed, should I say, he then slips away. He no longer attends the Loughborough Islamic Society, no longer helps them to distribute leaflets and posters and give dawah and call people to talk. So he just slips away. He sits at home. He's on his PlayStation, reading his books, going out enjoying himself. He's left the Jama'ah. He only comes to pray occasionally. He's not interested. Why? He's all upset because of this fallout he's had with the brother. This is a type of splitting which is impermissible. In Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ said that verily the wolf attacks the lone sheep. When you split from the Jama'ah, you open yourself to the shaitan, who will make you weaker and weaker and weaker. Once upon a time, you were busy in dawah, seeking knowledge, working for Allah's religion, and now you're at home playing PlayStations, and now you're at home sitting doing nothing, all because of a split between two brothers. In reality, this should not have the person should not have left the Jama'ah. Even though he's fallen out with his brother, he should still come in and pray, still get involved with the dawah, still help continue his work. Because why? He's doing that work for Allah, not for these people. And secondly, is that Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, Yadullahi ala al-Jama'ah, that the hand of Allah is over the Jama'ah, which means Allah's protection is there. But when somebody forces himself away from under the protection of Allah, and he chooses to fend for himself, he can only expect to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Another example. A brother in the Islamic society, I'm sorry I'm picking you guys, Islamic society, but I'm just by way of example, right? Another brother in the Islamic society, he's a student, meets another brother in the Islamic society, he's a student too. Students have a hard time financially. So they get together and they say, let's do some business. And they do some business deal. And it becomes successful, but then one brother rips off the other, or cheats the other. And it split up because of that. Business deals, he ripped me off, he took my wealth, it's my, it's haram, what he's done is wrong. And they split because of that. And then the one who was oppressed leaves the Jama'ah, goes about his own business now. I'm not coming there again, I don't want to see his face. I don't want to look at him, I don't want to give him salam. This is what we find. This is our community. But this is wrong. This is the cause of splitting and dividing. And now I'll give you a third example. Outside the Islamic society, inshallah. This third example is where a masjid, huge masjid, maybe Masjid Al-Ghuraba, our masjid, with maybe over 500 families and very busy and so on and so forth doing their thing. One uncle comes and another uncle comes, I'll marry my daughter to your son, and they agree, and the son and the daughter get married and the two families come together. Then a divorce happens. When divorce happens, what happens? Two families hate each other now, and one family doesn't come to the masjid no more, the other one comes, or sometimes comes, he doesn't want to see him, he doesn't want to see him. This is the type of splitting and disunity that we have amongst us. Now, all these three examples I gave you occurred in the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, occurred in the time of the Sahaba. Let's see how they dealt with it. The first example I gave you was two brothers having an argument. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, one of the Muhajir had a disagreement with an Ansar. So much they began to fight, and the Muhajir went and shouted, "Oh Muhajirin, come and help me against this Ansar." And all the Muhajirin came out. When the Ansar saw this, he said, "Oh Ansar, come and help me against the Muhajirin who has oppressed me." And all the Ansar came out. And they all came out and they were about to fight. They were about to really kick off. And the Prophet ﷺ came in the middle. He saw this. And he said, "This amongst you while I am alive, verily this is the way of Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah even amongst you whilst I am alive." Meaning he could accept this later on after he's passed away. But when he's here, how could you go to this extreme of calling to fight one another? Splitting and dividing. The Muhajirun, they wanted the Prophet ﷺ to come back to Mecca. And he said, "No, my place is in Medina. I promised them this, I'm going to die with them." So they always had this sort of struggle between the Islam and Muhajirun. But then, after the Prophet came, and he solved that matter, did they divide? Did they split? Did that one Muhajir say, "I'm not going to see the face of that Ansar no more. I don't want to sit in the same masjid as him"? They still stayed together. The unity was still there, despite they had these problems. They made up. This is the way unity will stay. will stay intact. The second example I gave was about business. I think it was Ibn Zubair. He was a young man, young boy. He had land at the base of a land which was like a hill going down. And above him was another Sahabi who had another land. The stream would flow from the top downwards. But what the Sahabi who owned the land at the top did was, he blocked off the water from coming down, and he kept the water for himself. So the young man went to him and said, "What's this? Let the stream flow. I want to benefit from this too. It's my stream, my land. I can do what I want with it." And he refused to do it. Business deal going sour. Argued, fighting, shouting. Then he went to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ ordered the man at the top to open his gates to let the water flow down. The story is much longer, but that's enough for us to focus on. Look, they argued, they had their differences, and the Prophet ﷺ solved it, and they lived together upon unity. The third example, marriage. The adopted son of the Prophet ﷺ, Zayd, when he divorced his wife, the Prophet ﷺ married her. Did Zayd have any bad feelings towards the Prophet ﷺ? Not at all. Was there any breakup in the family? Did the Sahaba speak about this as, "Oh my God, how dare the Messenger marry her?" And so on and so forth. Nothing. So my brothers, if we differ in anything, we should return to Allah and His Messenger and submit to their rulings. Allah Jalla wa said in the Quran, He said, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُونَ فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Which means, know by your Lord, none of them truly believe until they make you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, judge in between their disputes. And then after you judge, they submit with a complete submission to your judgment. And they have no resistance in their hearts to your judgment. Are our hearts ready for this? If you had that business dispute, you took it to some sheikh, a righteous sheikh, and he judged against you, will you submit? Will you be ready to submit to keep the unity, the brotherhood in Islam? Ask yourself these questions. So my brothers, unity, to have unity, we have to close every door of disunity. We have to close it all. And these were just 3 or 4 examples of how disunity occurs and the Jama'at breaks up. More importantly than this now, more importantly than this, and I touched on it earlier, is the very aqidah, or the belief in al-Islam. This is what has caused the biggest unity, the biggest divisions in the world today. We have Brahmis, we have Sufis, Yobandis, Salafis, Ahl Hadith, we have Muslimin, we have, what else is there? Naqshbandiyya, we have Jamaat Tabligh, we have, what else? Come on, there's loads of Jamaats, groups, sects, so many. Why is it they can't all become one? Why? The reason why is this. It's because every single one of them holds a specific set of aqaid, belief systems. And if you believe like they believe, then you're with them, you'll be with them, you'll be united with them. That's why Jamaat Tabligh are all united. Ahl Hadith all united. Salafis inshallah united. The Ikhwan Muslimin united. The Deobandis united. They're all united in themselves. Why? Because the same aqaid, the same beliefs has drawn them together. Now I say to you, can it really truly be that we have 7 or 8 different aqaids, beliefs? 7 or 8 different ones? Or is it one in the time of the Prophet ﷺ? Only one of them can be right, my brothers. Only one. And unity will be based on that one. Allah said in the Quran, أَلَا وَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Is not the Hizb of Allah, the group of Allah, the successful one. In another ayah, Surah Al-Baqarah, He said, فَإِنْ آمِنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. And if they believe as you believe, then they will be guided. Meaning, If they, the Sahaba, believe as you and Muhammad believe, they will be guided. If they, the Quraysh, believe as you and the Sahaba believe, then they will be guided. So I say the same thing to all the groups. That if we all believe as Muhammad and his companions believe, then we will be guided. But if we want to believe what our fathers have been teaching us from back home in Pakistan, in our tribes, in our regions, and we want to stick to that, we're not interested in listening to what the Prophet ﷺ taught, what his belief structure was, we're not going to get anywhere like this. So my brothers, the belief structure is the very thing which has caused the disunity. For us to talk about unity, we have to, by default, we have no choice. You know, as unpleasant as it is, as the brother mentioned before, we have to talk about the things which has caused the disunity in the first place. And then we begin to eliminate them, remove them, until we're left with the pure one way. The way of the Sahaba. Did you know, my brothers, that we have to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions? Do you know that our religion, whether it's Aqidah, Tawheed, Sunnah, we have to understand it as they understood it? Do you know this? Or are we allowed to understand it as our Mulvi in the mosque teaches us? Or are we allowed to understand Islam as our fathers teach us? Or are we allowed to understand Islam as our madhab teaches us? Or are we allowed to understand Islam as our group that we affiliate ourselves to, be it the Jamaat Tabligh or Salafis or Hadith, whoever it may be, or however they understand, we have to understand. We have to understand in that way. No. My brothers, Allah said in Surah Al-Nisa, He said, Surah Al-Nisa, verse 115, He said, remind me, we're going to start this by ayah. He says, anybody know the Quran? It starts with the first two words. He said, whoever contends with the messenger after plain, clear guidance comes to him and follows away other than the believers, we will leave him in the way he has chosen. His end abode will be the hellfire. What an evil journey's end. وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعُ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. This is the most fundamental verse that you will ever hear from the Quran, which tells us how we should be united. He said, and know by your, he said, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ, he said, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقَ الرَّسُولَ, whoever contends with the messenger after plain, clear guidance comes to him. What that means is, somebody tells you the Prophet said this, and the hadith is authentic, or done this, and the hadith is authentic, or approved of this, or done this, it's all authentic. And you understood the hadith completely, you understood it clearly, but then you turned away from it. You began to contend with it, saying, oh, well, he didn't say that, I know something better. Or my Imam said this. Or how can that be the Prophet said that when Maulvi doesn't do that? Or back home, my tribe, I've never seen them do prayer this way, never in my life. So whoever contends with the messenger after plain, clear guidance has come to him, and follows a way other than the believers, وَيَتَّبِعُ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Who are the believers that Allah is talking about in this ayah? When the verses were revealed, this verse was revealed, who were the believers? The Sahaba. So it's like he's saying, so whoever contends with the messenger and follows away other than the Sahaba, the companions, نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى, we'll lead him in the way he has chosen. وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ, and his end abode will be the hellfire. وَالسَّاءَتْ مَصِيرًا, what an evil journey's ahead. So that is the result of one who turns away from the understanding of the companions. So your religion, that you hold dear to your hearts, this subject of unity, which we all hold dear to our hearts, it has to be in accordance to how the companions were united. Now look at them and look at us. Did they ever prostrate their heads to the feet of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Did they ever kiss his hands and kiss his feet? Sahaba never did this. One companion, Mu'adh bin Jabal, when he came back from Yemen, he done that. He prostrated to the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Because he saw the people in Yemen used to do this to their elders out of respect. The Prophet ﷺ admonished him, stopped him and said, Mu'adh, don't you ever do this. Don't prostrate to me. If I was going to order anybody to prostrate to me, to anybody, I would have ordered the man, the wife, to prostrate to the husband. If I was going to do this. It's funny, our most of us brothers don't even remember this hadith. We forget everything else. Shame on us, isn't it? But the point is, prostrating to the Prophet was prohibited. So how then can we ever prostrate to a human, to a man, be in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or anywhere? It's haram. Kiss his hands, kiss his feet, what for? Out of honor because of his religion? It's different if you kiss someone's hand out of cultural practice, nothing to do with the religion. Like I know some Moroccan people, they kiss their hands, their daughters kiss the hands of their father. Arabs do this sometimes, out of respect. But they have has no connection to the religion whatsoever. But otherwise we see back home, they kiss the hands and the feet of the peers and the faqirs and the scholars and the religious people because of their religious status they have. And this is haram. This is not allowed. So belief, when we talk about belief, my brothers, we have belief in Allah, belief in the messengers, belief in the books, belief in angels, belief in life after death, and belief in qadr, predestination. These are the 6 articles of faith. We all know them, right? But you must also know that the Muslims have all differed in these 6 articles of faith. We've differed in the very aqidah. These are the usuls of the aqidah. Usuls, these are the foundations of the aqidah. After that, there's branches. There's secondary matters. If we differ in the secondary matters, no problem. We'll tolerate. But these usuls, it's haram. It's not permissible for us to differ in this. And this is why we've split into so many different groups. For some of you who don't believe that we've even differed in the very first pillar, we've differed over Allah. Yes, we have. Muslims today say Allah is everywhere. And the correct position is Allah is above His arsh. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, Allah said, and then He raised above His arsh. You know the hadith of the slave girl, when she was asked, where is Allah? She pointed to the sky. فِي السَّمَاء, she said. Many evidences to show that Allah has a place separate from His creation. He is not part of His creation. If we submit to this false belief that Allah is part of His creation, do you know what that tantamounts to? It's very similar to the Christians. They could not fathom the concept of God being separate from the creation. They could not understand that God cannot be seen and touched and felt and heard. They had no belief in the unseen. That's why they made Jesus God and they worshipped Him. Hindus, Sikhs, same thing. Statues, idols, monkeys, whatever they have, they worship. Why? Because they can't fathom the idea that they cannot see, smell, feel, touch. They can't. That shows their lack of belief in the unseen. Whereas us Muslims, we believe that Allah is unseen. And He is separate from His creation. He's not here. He's not present. He doesn't have to be here. Not even a leaf falls off the tree except that Allah knows of it and it's with His permission. So His knowledge is everywhere. His names and attributes you can see in His creation. But He Himself, He is separate from the creation. So my point, my brothers, is we've differed in this very principle. When the Muslims made Allah part of His creation, they then went one step further. They said then, so Allah is in this holy man and He's not in that man. He's this holy man and not that man. Wallahi, I saw a video of one sheikh, one Sufi sheikh who went to America to do dawah. And he went to, ironically, to a place called Death Valley or something like that, or the Devil's Valley, to give dawah there. And he was there giving dawah, and they were video recording him, and they were following him everywhere he went. As you can see, hours long it was. And he had these converts, revert ladies sitting around him by his feet, massaging him, his feet. And they were asking him, Sheikh, tell us, how do you get Allah inside your heart? How do you do this? How do you get Allah inside? How do you become one with Allah? That's what I asked. How do you do this? He said, just carry on. When I'm relaxed, I will explain to you how Allah is in my heart and in my mind. And He's around me everywhere I go. This is their belief. And this is what they preach. How do we unite with this? How do we get victory and strength and power? And how will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us anything when we are in this state? Listen to the verse in the Quran. He said, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَن يَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. He said, Allah has promised. And when Allah promises, He never breaks His promise. He's given His word that He will establish those from amongst you who believe correctly and do righteous deeds with empowerment on the earth. Just as He done that to the people before you. So my brothers, with the belief like that Sufi Shaykh I described, and there are many different fashions and forms and colors of these types of sheikhs, with this type of beliefs, is Allah going to fulfill His promise and establish us in the earth? Is He going to give us? Have we fulfilled the condition of believing in Allah correctly that He will fulfill His promise? Not with that, not at all. Never. At the end of that same verse, Allah describes the people who He will empower. He said about them, يَعْبُدُونَنِي وَلَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. That they will be worshipping me alone and not associating any partners with me whatsoever. Clearly shows you where unity lies. It lies in Tawheed, in worshipping Allah alone, singling Him out to be worshipped without giving Him any partners, without worshipping any of the creation along with Him or besides Him. So this is where the unity will come from. But will we give our heed to this? Now, I'm going to touch on this point of one aspect of Tawheed, which I believe many of us in this room are probably guilty of and not fulfilling. And it's a crucial part of Tawheed. And it is the reason for our downfall and our weakness. There's a chapter heading in Kitab al-Tawheed. It's called Himayat al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at-Tawheed. The protection of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam of Tawheed. This is a chapter from the chapter of Kitab al-Tawheed. So you can see its importance. That protecting Tawheed, protecting it, is crucial. It's part of our faith, it's part of our jobs as Muslims. It's not sufficient to just to be on Tawheed and not do shirk. You have to go one step further and you have to protect this Tawheed. Don't mean just protect it for yourself so you don't fall into shirk. You have to protect it for the whole ummah. And this is where we lack. We don't talk about Tawheed. Many masajids I've been to, they came to me and said to me, brother, we want you to do a talk, but please don't talk about Tawheed and Aqidah. I said, why not? He said, because it's going to split the brothers. It's going to cause division. I said, that's the very thing which united the ummah in the time of the Prophet was Tawheed and the correct Aqidah, and you're telling me it's going to split them? He said, brother, please, don't rock the boat. Don't make these issues, don't bring these issues up. It's going to make people upset. Brothers, if we don't protect Tawheed, if we don't preserve this Tawheed, what kind of Muslims are we? Our religion is all about Tawheed. The Prophet Muhammad he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen. He said, "O Mu'adh, إنك ستأتي أهل الكتاب فليكن أول ما تدعو إلى شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأني رسول الله وإنهم أعطاكم في ذلك فعلمهم أن الله قد أفطر عليهم 5 صلوات في الليل والنهار وإنهم أعطاكم في ذلك فعلمهم أن الله قد أفطر عليهم الصوم." إلى الآخر hadith. Hadith is long. He said, in the meaning, "O Mu'adh, verily you're going to come to a people of the book. Let the first thing you teach them is that no one has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and I am the messenger of Allah. And only if they accept that, then teach them that Allah has made obligatory 5 daily prayers in the day and the night. And only if they accept that, then teach them that Allah has made obligatory upon them fasting. And if they accept that, then teach them about zakat. And if they accept that, then teach them Hajj. In that order. Hadith in Bukhari and in Muslim. It's sahih. This is the importance of Tawheed, of teaching the people the Tawheed. Someone might argue and say, well, actually, that hadith was for the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians, not the Muslims. So we answer, we say to the brother, indeed, he was sent to the people of the book. But when the Muslims are doing what the Ahl Kitab done, or are doing, making shirk with Allah, then they are foremost. But we give them the dawah of Tawheed. So protecting Tawheed. The example I was going to give you, to show you how important protecting Tawheed is, how important to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ protecting Tawheed was. Now, before I give you the example, I ask you, if somebody came to your house, raided your house, and wanted to kill you and your family, shed your blood, there is nothing more important than saving your souls and your family, right? At that point. Nobody would disagree with that, huh? If you were on a battlefield and you were going to attack an enemy, you're only very near the enemy, you just camped up to prepare your rows, is there anything more important than preparing your battlefield strategically, giving instructions, preparing the people, telling them what to do, get ready for battle, facing the enemy? Is there anything more important than that? Nothing more important than that. These are important times. But yet the Prophet ﷺ, when he was on his way to the Battle of Hunayn, and they came to the camp before they meet their enemies, there was a tree where they were camping, setting up their rows, and this tree was called Dhatul Anwat. This tree was called Dhatul Anwat. It was very famous. Amongst the Prophet ﷺ's battalion were a lot of new Muslims who just embraced Islam from Tabuk, from other places, from Taif and so on and so forth. They came, they joined the ranks to go and fight. And they came to the Messenger of Allah and said, "Oh Messenger, you see that tree of Dhatul Anwat? Make for us a tree, Dhatul Anwat, like the Mushrikeen have a tree, Dhatul Anwat." This tree, Dhatul Anwat, what the Mushrikeen used to do, they used to put their swords on there for good luck. And then take it off, and then they're on good luck, and they'll go and fight. That they believe the tree gave some power to their swords, and them. And these Sahaba, new Muslims, they said to the Prophet ﷺ, make us a tree like this, Dhatul Anwat that they have. What did the Prophet ﷺ do? He said, "Okay, get back in your rows, let's get the battle over and done with, and I'll explain to you about these trees later." No. Rather, he said, Subhanallah, 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 3 times. And when the messenger said that 3 times, whoa, it's serious. Something serious has happened. Something very serious has taken place. And then he said, indeed, you people have said exactly what the people of Musa alayhi salam said to him. Make to us a calf unto the calf of theirs. Then he finished the hadith by saying, indeed, you will follow the footsteps of the people of the book so much, so much, inch for inch, handspan by handspan, so much that if a lizard was to crawl into a hole, you would crawl behind it and get bitten. So he admonished this shirk practice that they wanted to do, and he preserved Tawheed even at the time of battle in jihad. So this is the level, the degree to which we should be preserving a Tawheed, protecting the Aqeedah that we have. Because when you don't treat it as such importance, then what happens is innovations creep into the religion, nobody speaks about it. Shirk creeps into the religion, nobody warns against it. And then we have all these groups. Lo and behold, we have this Jamaat, that Jamaat, this group, that group. And we wonder why we're not united and why we're at loggerheads. It's because of our own selves. We have traits of Jews in us, those who don't prohibit the evil. Allah said about them, the Jews in the ayah of the Quran, He said, كانوا لا ينهون عن المنكر ففعلوه. They never used to forbid the evil, rather they indulged in it. What was their crime, these Jews, in that particular ayah? They did not forbid the evil that was written in the Torah. They never forbid the evil. And when he said, but rather they indulged it, they didn't do it. What they done was they kept quiet. So Allah made them blameworthy. They say, you did it. By remaining silent, you did it. You allowed it. So we Muslims should be better than them. So preserving this unity, my brothers, is something which is, in essence, the basis is in protecting the religion. If you protect the religion, then you will be protecting, at-Tawheed, and you will be protecting that very thing which is the basis for our unity to be built upon, which is the rope of Allah. This religion is the rope of Allah. Preserve the religion. Preserve it, and you'll hold fast to that rope. You won't go astray. You'll be on the right path. There's a hadith in Muslim where the Prophet ﷺ, he was with his companions. He took his staff and he drew a long straight line in the ground. It was very long. And then off that one long line, he drew short lines going off on the right and short lines going off of the left. So the lines going off the left and right were short, but the middle long line was straight and long. And he said, he took his staff, he dragged his staff on the long straight line, and he said, وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا فَاتَّبِعُوهُ وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلٍ. He said, verily this is my one long straight path. This is my path, he said. And do not follow the paths that go off on the right and go off on the left. For indeed, they will send you astray from my path. Sorry, this hadith is in Abu Dawud, not Muslim. And it's Sahih. It's in Abu Dawud. The reason why I remembered it is because at the end of the hadith, you know what he said? He said at the head of each one of these short paths is a shaitan calling to it. Now this is going to be a gulp in somebody's throat. Hard for you to accept. But I'll tell you, every group, every sect that is out there that is not following this one straight path, they all have shayateen leading them. They have shayateen leading them. We believe this. This is what was said in the hadith. We hear and we obey. So this one straight path. Why is it that the Messenger ﷺ described his path as being long and straight? He said, why? Long because it requires patience. Straight because it will not tolerate any deviation. And then he described the other ones as short and coming off the one path. Why did he describe them as short? Because their leaders are saying, do this, this and this, and we'll have the Islamic State. Do this and we'll have empowerment. Do this and we'll have success. But they're all short paths. No patience involved. And they're deviations away from the right path. What is at the end of this long one straight path? Is it empowerment on this earth? Is it Sharia on this earth? Is it jihad? What is it at the end of this? It's none of those are listed. At the end of this is Al-Jannah. And that's our goal. We aim for Jannah. We don't aim for empowerment on the earth. Empowerment on the earth will come along when we tread that one path, that straight path. Jihad will come along the way. Dawah will come on the way. Let's not confuse our goals with our means. Making our means the goals and goals the means, confusing ourselves. We tread that path with patience. And what will come to us of hardship and difficulty and pain and whatever else will come. But the end is Jannah. We must not lose sight of our end. We work so hard for what in Dawah? Not for the establishment of Sharia. We work for Jannah. We work for Allah's face. Why do you work so hard? Why do I travel from Luton to here to give Dawah to different places? I want my place in Jannah secured. I'm striving as hard as I can for this. Sacrifice for that. Whether we're going to get empowerment in the earth in Egypt or Syria or in Algeria or Saudi Arabia, wherever it's going to be, this is in the hands of Allah. This is from His wisdom. He will choose when it's going to happen and if we're deserving of this. I've told you when we will be deserving of this. When we're deserving of this, then start waiting for that. Right now, I'm not wasting my time because the Muslims are not deserving of it. Let's busy ourselves with that thing which will unite the Ummah, teach them their religion correctly, purify them from all the false teachings that are in Islam, that are coming to Islam. And when we have that pure Islam and we're treading that path, you will see Allah from His wisdom, huwa fa'alu lima yurid. And He will do whatever He wants, whenever He wants. One earthquake in America, it will be taken down. One wind and they'll all fall down. We don't need weapons, brothers. We don't need aircraft like them, missiles like them. We just need dua. But dua from from the people who are upon tawheed, not shirk, upon sunnah, not bid'ah. We need dua. We need righteousness. We need people, not cheating with each other, not backbiting, not slandering each other, not harming each other. We need people who are righteous with one another. We need this ummah to go back to how it was in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions. Then Allah will say, now you're worthy. And He'll just cause one earthquake, and America will just sink into the ground. And then who's the superpower then? Allah will decide. I was saying, my brothers, the state of the ummah right now is an abysmal state. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I'm optimistic. Do you know why? Because along with that abysmal state, there is a huge revival of Islam. There's a huge return to Islam all over the world, where the youth are returning to Islam. But that can go against us if they're not being taught Islam correctly. They'll end up growing, teaching shirk and bid'ah. Then we've got another generation to wait for till they go, until the next generation comes. So the key, my brothers, for true unity and empowerment on this earth is returning to the correct, authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and rooting out all innovations, returning to Tawheed and rooting out all shirk. Allah Jalla Wa'ala said in the Quran, He said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That verily Allah Jalla Wa'ala, He will not change the condition of the people until they change it themselves. So it's upon us to change our condition, then Allah will change the situation we're in. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين. Thank you, brothers. Jazakallah khair for listening to me. I know you're really tired, want to be fast. I'm probably more tired than you guys. Trust me. I've been here since what? We've been here since 2 o'clock. We've been on the road since 10 o'clock. We've been here since 2 o'clock in the heat, rocking around. So alhamdulillah, jazakallah. If there's any questions, so 25 minutes. We'll take some questions, inshallah. If not, we'll have a nice long break.
This is kind of off topic, but do you know obviously the volatile town that you live in?
Yes.
EDL and Muhajirun, they have a lot of exposure. But in terms of the da'wah that you're trying to promote, do you have a lot of non-Muslims coming into Islam?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. In Ramadan, since from the beginning of Ramadan to now, we've had four Muslims embrace Islam. And regularly people embrace Islam all the time, every week. And they're coming to our masjid now. And believe it or not, when they go to the other masajids say to them, go to the Islamic Centre over there. Go and embrace Islam over there. Because they know when they come over there, they'll get taught, they'll have a buddy, someone to look after them, someone to grow with them, and they'll get proper education there. And also, they themselves, these other masajids, they don't understand how to really give da'wah to non-Muslims, It's difficult. So alhamdulillah, that was spreading, it's moving, amidst all these two extremes we have, we still concentrate on da'wah. We do not give all of our ears and our times and our efforts to EDL or al-Muhajirun. Trust me, you may seem to you people like that, but it's not what's happening. Our main da'wah is to the Muslims, general Muslims and the non-Muslims, and we're just calling people. When they raise their ugly heads, we knock them back down. And when they raise their ugly heads, we knock them back down. That's how we deal with them. Obviously I have a blog, which I don't know if any of you have seen any of that. It's Abdul-Qadeer Baksh blog, which is all about some articles and audios which I've done and videos about refuting extremism. There's a little bit about EDL. I'm slowly trying to populate that. So I do recommend if you get on there, like it or sign up to it and get some frequent emails which will help you to give your dawah. There's some stuff there which you'll find very valuable, inshallah. I mean, that's what I've been told by other brothers who benefit from this. You know, these are good articles, good leaflets, good stuff there. We can use them in our towns and our places. Okay? Yes, my brother.
Just a quick question. It's coming out to the point that a lot of our own relatives, our loved ones are in a position where they are deviating away from the teachings of Islam and the Sunnah. And obviously we want to try and do whatever that we can to try and guide them the right path and give them references and give them the teaching. But if we still find that we're struggling and maybe one day they might listen to us when they go back to their old habits, how do you deal with that? How do you persevere? How do you kind of encourage
I'll tell you. With patience. With patience in your character with them, in your behavior with them, with patience in what you teach them. Don't expect them to be guided when you want them to be guided. Your job is to give dawah. Allah's job is to guide them. Just fulfill your job and step back. If they haven't come through, that means Allah hasn't chosen for them guidance yet. Allah said in the Quran, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ حَبَّبْتَ وَاللَّهُ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. And verily you cannot guide whom you love, but Allah guides whom He wants. Sisters, if you've got questions, sisters, if you've got questions, please write them down. But your voice is going to be louder than mine. Please, just brothers will try to listen. Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Yeah. So verily you cannot guide whom you love, but Allah guides whom He wants. And there's another ayah in the Quran, which you all know very well, where Allah said, "Lasta alayhim musaytir," that you are not a controller over them. You haven't been sent to control the people to, There's another ayah in the Quran where Allah said, why does it, sadden you that Allah, have not chosen to guide these people? This is Allah's hand. Guidance is totally in the hands of Allah. Your job is, وَمَا عَلَيْكَ إِلَّا بَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ. It is not upon you except to relate a clear message. Give your message. Give the dawah. Sit back and wait. And smile at them. Allah hasn't chosen for their chosen type of guidance. They've gone back to their ways. Keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on. Never give up until you meet your grave. That's my advice. And this is how you'll conquer hearts. You know why? Because when you give dawah in this way, with kindness and gentleness and good manners and good behavior to your loved ones and near ones and friends, wallahi, if not today, they'll get guided, and they leave you and they go to another town, another country, or meet other people, and then they get guided, they will never forget. They will never forget what you done to them. Well, I've had that situation, it happened to me many times. One incident, back in the early 90s, we used to go to, believe it or not, Leicester Square and give dawah there. We used to put a table there, give leaflets, to shout, dawah, give me dawah. To Muslims, not Muslims, to Muslims that were there, coming out of clubs and nightclubs and, restaurants, etc. or not. And I don't know who I'm giving dawah to. I'm just seeing people there just shouting, giving dawah, giving dawah, giving dawah. People and the Muslims listen, and they really appreciate us coming there and giving dawah, because they go there every weekend, and they know they've got that guilty feeling in their hearts that they know what they should be doing and they're not doing it. And you give them hope, and you make them fear Allah. You give them hope, you make them fear Allah. You give them hope, and you make them fear Allah like this. And then about 2-3 years later, when I stopped at dawah and I went somewhere, I was in St. Albans doing a talk. In the crowd, one guy was sitting there, he kept smiling at me when I was doing this talk. And it was getting annoying, I was putting up my talk, he kept smiling at me. And when I finished, and I had to go up and say, he really put me off my talk, man. Why do you have to smile at me so much? And he said to me, brother, do you remember me? I said, no, I don't remember you. Because you remember Leicester Square, you was there, you were doing dawah. No, I became practicing a week, 2-3 weeks later after that. So I was alhamdulillah, it's from Allah. So Allah guided me. I just give my dawah and leave the rest of Allah. And he thanked me so much, and to this day now he comes to visit us in the masjid in Luton and so on and so forth. We have a long relationship with him. So people will never forget the work, the effort that you put in to guide them. Because you know why? At the end of the day, to them, you are their best friend. You are their real friend. Somebody who loves for his brother to be saved from the hellfire and go to paradise is more dearer than somebody who loves for them to have a good business in this life and plenty of wealth. And they come to realize that later. At the moment, they only give their, thanks and appreciation to those who help them in their dunya at the moment. But you just keep knocking away at the akhirah, the akhirah, the akhirah. And then when his time comes to change, they'll come to your feet and they'll say, brother, you're the one. You're my friend. Everybody's telling me to save me from this dunya. You will save me from the akhirah, the hellfire. So Jazakallah khair, keep up your patience. Jazakallah khair. Any other questions upon?
Assalamu
Islam.
for your speech.
Barakallahu feek.
You told us about the different aqidah. And our ummah are divided into different aqidah. How it is possible for us to make them be united? Secondly, when we will try to unite them into one aqidah, there will be dispute. How we will solve the dispute
Okay.
from our...
That was a wonderful question. Because that is the essence of the talk and how are we going to do this. Ikhwan, in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent to who? To Quraysh. The Quraysh were doing what? Their aqidah was what? Worshipping idols, statues, other than Allah. He was sent to them with a message to proclaim, to worship Allah and not associate Him with others. For that he was punished, driven out from the town. He was ostrated, he was boycotted, he was punished, his Sahaba were killed. They went through so much difficulty to teach this aqidah to these people. And they never stopped their message. So, the Muslims today have so many different aqaids. How do we make them to come to one aqidah? Is by first and foremost, number one, learning the correct aqidah ourselves. And once we've learnt it, number two, acting upon that aqidah ourselves. And once we've acted upon it ourselves, we've learnt it, we acted upon it, we then thirdly, we give dawah to it. And after giving dawah to this aqidah after which you've acted upon, fourthly, you then be patient with the trials and the tribulations that will come to you. They will come to you. I can only give you, that is exactly what happened to the Protestant. He learned his aqidah from Allah, he acted upon it himself, he gave dawah to the people, and then to the Quraysh, and then he was patient with the tribulation that came afterwards. Until Allah opened for him, Medina, and then he went there. This is the way in which we have to work. So Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab in his book, The Four Usuls, he mentioned this as well. So my point, Ikhwan, this is the way. Now, I'll give you an example of this. When we first started this dawah to Tawheed in Luton, it was in 1991. I was just practicing in 1989, and we got people coming who were giving me dawah from London. I embraced the dawah, and I began to give dawah to Tawheed in Luton. There was no call of dawah to Tawheed in Luton whatsoever in 88, 89, 90, 91. We initiated it, the group that I was with. Tawheed, the importance of Tawheed. From there, we learnt it, we acted upon it, we gave dawah, Allah gave us a masjid, our community from 4 people, from 1 to 4, to now there's hundreds of families there. It's a massive community there. And they're all learning Tawheed. And when I started giving the dawah of Tawheed, I was threatened, I was beaten, I was chased, I was actually almost stabbed. All these 3 things happened to me for calling to Tawheed from the Muslims, or those who call themselves Muslims. Yeah. But when our dawah grew, and certain people in the communities who used to be bad boys embraced this dawah of Tawheed, I found protection all of a sudden. We found protection all of a sudden. Nobody would miss, and then they just let us get on with that dawah. Then our dawah grew so much, so big after that. When people left us and not troubled us, we just busied ourselves with dawah, then it grew so much, so well. This is an example of how it will happen everywhere. It will happen in Loughborough like this if you work at it, if you brothers work at it. It will happen in Leicester, it will happen everywhere if you work at it. And that's our job, give the dawah. So have I answered your question, brother? Or have I missed anything?
When the dispute will come.
Yeah, what do we do? When the disputes come, you have to be patient with the disputes. You have to forbear them, and you have to dispute in a nice manner. Argue with them in the best way. Allah said in the Quran, وَادْعُوا إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَمَوْعِدَةَ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Which means, and call to the way of your Lord with hikmah, wisdom. Now, wisdom doesn't mean hiding the things which they don't like to hear. That doesn't mean wisdom. wisdom, when it comes to Tawheed and Aqeedah, these are paramount. You must teach this. You have no choice. You can hide other things. Maybe they're not ready to hear about the beard. Maybe they're not ready to hear about lifting your ankles, your trousers above your ankles. No problem. You're not hiding it. Just leave that for now. You don't have to concentrate on that. Concentrate on Tawheed. This is what they need to understand. So you're not hiding that. You're just focusing on the priority things first. That's hikmah. That's wisdom. So Allah said, call to the way of your Lord with wisdom. وَمَوْعِدَةً حَسَنَةً, meaning fair preaching, good preaching. With wisdom and good preaching. وَجَادِلُ بِهِمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and then argue with them in the best manner. You argue with them, debate with them, dialogue with them in the best manner. Not turning into fist fightings afterwards. Threats of being, want to stab you, want to chase you and kill you, and your family going to get this. It's this. You know? So, you have to forbear and face the disputes. You cannot hide from this. When it comes to Tawheed, there's no ducking and diving from Tawheed and the correct Aqeedah. Other matters, yeah. You know, you can use the hikmah, wisdom, and teach them as and when the time comes. Is that clear, guys? I'll do him, then I'll come back, inshallah.
Basically, it's just an extension of this question. It's like, obviously, we've been mentioning the correct Aqeedah. It's slightly controversial, but for a general person, the layman, you could say, where would you get how
would you get the correct, the general version?
Which one is the correct Aqeedah? Obviously, everyone gives their own proofs.
You're asking me what the correct Aqeedah, I'm going to tell you what I know. So, if I upset anybody, I apologize from now. Ikhwan, I will tell you that the correct Aqeedah lies with those who follow the way of the Salaf Salih. It lies with those people of Ahl Hadith. It lies with those people who follow the Quran and Sunnah upon the understanding of the Sahaba. That is Salafiyah. Is there anybody, be really brave here now, be brave, be honest with me. Is there anybody here that will differ or say, no brother, I disagree with you? If I say to you that we have to follow, all of us have to follow the Quran and the Sunnah upon the understanding of the Sahaba, the companions, their understanding, and any scholar that came after them who, ask them please to keep quiet, they're not listening to me. It's putting me off this, you know. If you ask them to keep quiet, it's putting me off. Speak to them, please. What's my point? What I was saying is, let me use my chain of thought, you know.
Sisters, can you please quieten it down, please? Yeah, you know, because the Sheikh is actually coming to a good part right here, and you actually don't want to be blunt, but it's kind of getting ruined, and the Sheikh's getting put off as well. He just said it himself. So please quieten it down, please.
So what I was saying was, would anybody disagree that we would follow the Quran and the Sunnah upon the understanding of the Sahaba and all those scholars like Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Ahmad Hanbal, and all other scholars other than them who followed that formula, followed them also? Would anybody disagree that this is the way? Tell me, anybody got any different ideas? No. Nobody can disagree. Yeah? No. So everybody would agree with that. That is Salafiyah. That is Dawah Salafiyah. So by default, whether you like it or not, you're all Salafi. But I don't want to call you no names. It's not about calling names. I'm Salafi. I didn't come here to teach you names, right? And groups. That's not my point. Okay? But you're talking about a way. Salafiyah is a way. It's about how to understand your religion according to the Quran and the Sunnah and with understanding the Sahaba. Allah said in Surah Tawbah, verse number 100. السابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين تبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. To the end of the ayah. He said, the first of them and the last of them from the Muhajir and the Ansar. This is all the companions, right? And then he said, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ. And all those who followed them correctly. That's all the scholars, and maybe all of us as well, inshallah. رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Allah. So would Allah tell us, would Allah be pleased with the Sahaba, with the people, and then say, no, but don't take their understanding? Of course not. And remember the verse I read out in Surah Nisa? Whoever contends with the messenger, after plain clear guidance comes to him, and follows a way other than the believers were the Sahaba. Will leave him in the way he's chosen, his end abode will be the hellfire, what evil journey's end. So you ask me a question, what is the Aqidah, the correct Aqidah? The correct Aqidah is the Aqidah of the Salaf al-Salih. The Aqidah of those early Muslims. The Aqidah of Abu Hanifa, the Aqidah of Imam Malik, the Aqidah of Imam Shafi, and the Aqidah of Ahmad. They never differed in the Asul of Aqidah. In the Furu, they differed, no problem, we tolerate Furu. No issues there. But the Usuls, they never differed. I'll ask you a question now. Another question. When Allah said in the hadith, Yadullahi ala al-jama'ah, that Allah's hand is over the jama'ah, the Sahaba understood this to mean Allah had a hand. In the ayah in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the Jews, they say, Allah is stingy, His hands are closed. Does that mean Allah has a hand? Do we affirm that Allah has a hand? Yes, we do. This is a matter of Aqidah, Usul of Aqidah. We find many Jama'ats and groups go wrong here. They try to they flee away from making Allah like the creation and say, how do you say Allah has a hand? Astaghfirullah. Hand like ours? Hand like this? And so they say to the Salafis, no, we don't accept this. And they say, as for the hand of Allah, it means generosity. It means this, it means that. So they begin to explain away His attributes. This was never done by the Sahaba. What did the Sahaba do? They affirmed Allah had a hand. Ibn Abbas, he said that we affirm Allah's attributes and we never explain them away. So what we do is we don't say Allah's hand is like His creation, because there's another ayah in the Quran where Allah said, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There is nothing like unto Him, Allah, nothing. And He hears all and He knows all. So here you can see in this ayah that even though He has He affirms for Himself a hand, He affirms in Himself eyes in the Quran, He affirms for Himself a shin in the Quran. We affirm these attributes of Allah as they are, and we stop. We don't ask how, we don't ask why, we don't divulge in the matter. We just submit and accept it. Finished. Move on. What's next? But the problem comes is when you start asking, well, hang on a minute. Allah says He's got a hand. How is His hand? That's when the problem begins. And the Salaf, the Sahaba, they used to say, مَحْمَ تَسَوِّرَ الْخَالِقِ فَهُوَ لَيْسَ كَذَلِكَ. However you imagine the Creator to be, He is not like that. So you cannot even imagine Allah Jalla wa Ala. This is another point of Aqidah. You'll find, many of the Hanafis of today, they will not accept this. They'll say, no, you cannot say Allah has a hand. You cannot say Allah has a face, and so on and so forth. Because why? They're afraid of making Him like the creation. But I've explained already how we don't make Him like the creation. Anyway, so this is a point. This is the Hanafi of today. But Abu Hanifa himself, rahmatullah alayhi, and his companions, his students, return to the book Fiqh al-Akbar by Ali al-Qari. And you will see in there how he affirms that of all of Allah's attributes, as I described, explained it exactly like I described. But then why is the Hanafis of today different from the Hanafis back then? It's because we Hanafis from Indian subcontinent, we went astray, unfortunately. But you go to some of the Hanafis in the Middle East, some of them, you'll find them with the correct Aqidah. Allahu Alam, that's just a little bit of a side for the lucky.
The same question, obviously you answer this question at an individual level, trying to see the strategy which can be adopted in order to divert people back from their shirk into their original Aqidah. But this problem is not is very broad. It's a global problem. It expands to the organizations and to the governments and all this system. Even we have everybody at an individual level who are being bought into this system, this Western system, economic, political. They are somehow compromising on their Aqidah, isn't it? And they are doing the same shit. So when you attack the organizations and the individuals and the leaders of those organizations who have vested interests in their Aqidas, so what can be the strategy to address those issues?
The bigger picture. How do we address the bigger picture? So the brothers say basically, look, the governments have the control over the Muslim lands. They're the ones who are teaching the Aqidah. How do we address the bigger issue? Because it's all fine about speaking to the individuals and split into organizations and groups and sects and massages, etc. But what about the big players? That's your question, yeah? I'll tell you, Ramadhan. The big players are made up of who? They're made up of the smaller players. The leader is a reflection of the people. If the people are righteous, the leader will be righteous. If the people are corrupt, then the leader will be corrupt. So we should concentrate on the people. And the leaders, they are only there because we put them in power. Through their democratic votes, etc. or not. Or if it's dictatorship, then they're there. They will go. As soon as the people, the ground level, the people are fixed, then the top will get fixed. We fixed this ummah from bottom up, not from up down. It doesn't work up down. The Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he came with his messenger, when he came with his message, look at the chieftains of Quraysh. You know who they were? Abu Jahl and Lahab, all these chieftains. He went there, he gave them dawah, but did he waste all his time with his people, or did he work on the poor and the general people? He worked on the poor and he worked on the general people. He only went to them, you know when? When they got fed up of him talking to the poor and the general people. Then they came to him and they said, "Oh Muhammad, stop this speech, stop this, you're dividing our communities, you're splitting us. Ask for the best woman, we'll marry you to her. You know, ask for wealth, we'll give you wealth. If you give us the woman of the hand and my left and right hand, I will never stop this cord." So Muhammad busied himself with the general people. So we should follow the same manhaj, the same methodology, and busy ourselves with the general people, and not the leadership. Because the leadership, they're happy with what they have. Their vested interest is wealth, power, status, position. You know, you try to give them down, they're not willing to leave all that. So obviously we can give them dawah, but don't expect a change from them. The change will come from them, you know when? When the people change. The people will sit fed up with them and say, "Look, we don't want you as a leader." And then they will change, say, "Okay, I'll be like you." And the leader will become like the people. Allahu Alam.
That mindset travels across, from the top to bottom. It's the same mindset. Even if I am a student in the university and adopting all this system, my mindset is the same as some Prime Minister in a Muslim country is into the same system. So it's the same mindset.
There's the same mindset, but there's a difference. You're sitting here listening. The Prime Minister doesn't come and sit here. So you reach out to those who will listen. You waste your time with these people who don't want to listen, who've got power to crush you as well. Leave them. You just continue your dawah. Work with the people. Look, there's an ayah in the Quran, Allah said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That verily Allah doesn't change the condition of the people until they change their condition themselves. The condition on a ground level. When you change your family, we all change our families. We change a community. When you change a community, you change a town. Change a town, you change a city. That's how it grew. Stick to the sunnah. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave his dawah to the general peoples. He could have easily went to the Quraysh. They had the same mindset as him as well. Chieftains, and he could have busied all his time with them. But he didn't. He spent all his time rather with the people, and the poor, the general people. And then the chieftains came to him and he gave the dawah. Stick to the sunnah. Imam Malik, he said, "As-sunnah kas-safinat an-nur. Man raqiba faqad amana. Wa man taraka faqad gharaka." He said that the sunnah is like Noah's ark. Whoever boards it is saved. Whoever leaves it is destroyed. Is it time to open fast now?
We've got just a few minutes before we finish. Just last question.
Let's go to the next.
I just wanted to ask, there are the general population who is unaware of proper Aqidah and, and they follow groups unknowingly because that's what they've been exposed to. I mean, because they don't actually know what is the right one. I mean, how is it that we go about it, fixing it? And second, it's just a little bit more, because these groups are certainly big. Some of them are really big. I mean, especially in the subcontinent. I mean, where you said that we've got to talk about our tawheed from the beginning and everything. Is there any other way to prove them that no, whatever they're doing is not the right way?
Okay, I missed something which is very important, right? And you prodded me to mention this, right? These are general people. Don't hate them. Don't dislike them. You want guidance for them, right? Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was sent to the Quraysh for 40 years before he was given his Nabuwah. In those 40 years, he earned 2 titles, Al-Amin, As-Sadiq, the most trustworthy, the most truthful. And then when he gave the message, the people believed him. So our dawah really should be first and foremost, winning the trust of the people we want to give dawah to. So they respect us, they listen to us, they love us, we love them, they understand that we have their good, their goodness at heart, we want the goodness for them. Once we're at that stage, then we have to, uncompromisingly, teach them Tawheed. What I mean uncompromisingly, I mean not at the expense of anything else. Teach them Tawheed. And if they go into many different groups, what can you do? You're not a controller over them. Your job is to go and reach out to them wherever they are, in any single group they are. Go there and give them dawah. If they're in the streets, if they're in this group, that group, go there and give them dawah. Learn it yourself and give them dawah. Reach them, find them. That's our job, to establish the hujjah on this world. Is that clear, okay? Have I answered it?
Is there any other way, like, for these groups, to tell them, like, no, this is not the right?
No, what I would say to you, go into groups and saying, this is wrong, what you're doing is wrong. I've had a lot of experience in that. It doesn't work. You go there, you're just going to have a slagging match with them, yeah? It doesn't work. But sometimes you might want to do that for another reason. Inshallah, I'll tell you about this another time, inshallah.
But the leaders of these groups, they have the knowledge about this, that they are right or wrong. Why they are doing like this?
It's because they're convinced and they believe that this is the path that they've chosen is the correct. And they have tahazzub, which is partisanship to that. This is why they're doing that. But, going back to your point that, going to the leaders of these groups and sitting down and talking and debating with them, I mean, if you think the person is open to listen, then yeah, do it. But with good preaching, good manners. But if you feel, which I feel is in the most cases, is they really don't even want to sit with you, to be honest. They don't want to listen to you. And if you force yourself then, you try to tell them, you already started on a negative. There's no benefit. Rather, spend your time on the general people who will listen. Okay?
Jazakumullah khairan for attending the event. Inshallah, if you have any further question, you can ask him during the futur, inshallah. And before we finish off, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. And today as well, what we planned on after the iftar, we're planning on raising some money, inshallah, for our brothers in Syria, as everyone is aware of what their condition is, and especially this being the month of Ramadan, everyone knows the benefits of Ramadan and how good deeds are multiplied. So you might as well donate as much as you can for the brothers who are suffering there. Some have, I've heard recent incidents where they don't even have enough food for their iftar, and some even apparently there was a fatwa given out that they're allowed to eat cat meat. That's how bad the situation is. So if brothers just keep that in mind, the fact that we are in such a comfort and having iftar, our brothers in Syria aren't. So please donate as much as you can, and the brother who's organizing it is going to give personally the money to someone who's overlooking it personally, and all the donations go, 100% donation go to Syria. And Jazakumullah khairan, and we may prepare for iftar, inshallah. Jazakallah.